Okay.
So we have some data, and we would like to use this on the graph page because of some of the functionality on the graph page. And so we can add a graph page with a control doc, and I'll choose number 2. Graph pages are fun for math teachers especially, and we'll show you some of the reasons why. If you use that right-click control menu for the right-click, you can choose, instead of doing functions, how about we wanted to plot the data on this kind of page. And I'm going to press var to see what data I have. I have distance and time. What is appropriate to have is the independent variable. Let's use time. And on the y-axis, press var, and I'm going to choose to have distance over there. Press enter, and look at that. All that beautiful data is graphs. Well, except for perhaps we want to choose menu, window zoom, and how about let's fit it to the data. Zoom to the data. So there we are. We zoom to the data. And we can make modifications for that, because perhaps we don't really want to start at 7. Maybe we want to start closer to 0. Or in math times, we often start at negative, and then tab, and I'll say around, I know the answer was 20 was the highest it went, but yeah, we'll go a little higher than that. And we went, I'll put 20 seconds over there, tab. And let's say that, how about -5, just for the sake of seeing things. So tabbed around to change those axes. Sure, you could have gone menu and window settings if you wanted to be like your 84 days where you pick the scale and things like that. Right now it's on a scale of auto. Let's make that have tick marks on the X of every 2 seconds. And tab, and have a scale on the Y of about every 5 meters. 2 meters, definitely 2 meters. Okay. And so there it is. You can set it up like that. So if we wanted to make a graph for this, let's say maybe it reminds us of something parabolic. And so we can tab, and we don't want to do another scatter plot. Control menu, we want to do a function. And so let's graph x squared so that we can have the joy of playing with the spread of it. Doesn't look like it's perfectly parabolic by any means. And so, but that's that story. So now here's me exploring something else. Back over here, if we modeled it, I wonder what would model that. Menu, analyze, curve fit. What a power curve. Let's see what that is. And it says, not so meaningful. Have a 2.92 power. That's a great looking graph. Now what does she want to do with that? But Kathleen's not here to ask anymore. Maybe you want to know what that function is. So whenever you do a regression, then it remembers that regression as stat regression. So over here on this graph, then I could tab down here to the entry line and do a little var. It knows it as a stat regression equation. That's what I was saying. And it's an equation of x. And so now that equation is graphed, and that one looks a lot better than that other one. So here's that stat regression. Since I'm using the CAS, I can ask it to tell me, hey, what is that equation? Control doc, and I could say calculator. What is that stat regression equation? What is that? So that's what that was graphing. And now you can do things with it, like the derivative at a point. Sure, that's nice. What is the shift minus is a secret shortcut for taking the derivative with respect to, I'd like to take the derivative with respect to t, with respect to that t. And I've got this equation as a function of time. All right, stat regression equation is actually a function of time in my mind. And I want to evaluate that, control vertical bar, such that the t is equal to to something like the 2-second mark. And so there's the derivative at that. Up arrow if you want to find out what is the derivative. How fast was I going at 3 seconds? There's how fast I was going at 3 seconds. She was interested in maybe finding out for some particular y value the regression equation at 3. So what was my position? Where was I at that position? Or where was I at position 2? Etc. Or if we were back on the graph, you could trace that menu. There's a couple nice ways to trace. I'll just do graph trace. You can trace everything. So do graph trace. Oh, that's tracing the data points. Up arrow. Now it's tracing my quadratic trace. Now it's tracing this regression equation. And you can type in whatever y value you want, like 2, enter, or 3, enter, or 4, or even pi. Where was I at pi seconds? Or about 2 pi. That's where I was at 2 pi seconds. And if you wanted to get the corresponding y value, I think was part of what was being asked, then you could type in there and say, what about when the y value was 20? And according to that regression equation, then I was at 18.2 meters at the 20-second mark. Nope, at 20 meters, the time was 18.2 seconds. Yeah, that's how long it took me to get that far, based on the regression. So I can stop.